Okay, we're going to move on from equations that don't have exactly one solution to equations that have fractions in their coefficients. We haven't really dealt with equations, like, for example, 1/2 x plus 3 over 8 equals 5 over 6x minus 3. And you may say, well, what's so different about these equations? I mean, they're 1/2, 3/8, 5/6 are fractions, but they're just numbers, right? Can't we do the same things we've always done, right? Like, can't we, for example, subtract 5 over 6x from both sides of the equation? Sure, I have to dust off my memory on how I subtract fractions, but for the most part, should be doable, and it's true. What I'm teaching here is another way of doing it, a way that makes, I guess, solving these equations even easier than going through the process of adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing fractions. And it's built on this shortcut that I have over here. It basically says that if I'm multiplying a whole number by a fraction, I can just divide that whole number by the denominator and multiply by the numerator. In other words, if I, for example, have 12 times 2/3, since I noticed that 12 is divisible by 3, what I can do is I can say this is the same thing as 12 divided by 3 and then multiplied by the numerator 2. So divide, multiply. And the reason why this is nice, and again, you could have done this the old-fashioned way, right? You could have said 12 is 12 over 1 and gone from there, is this enables you to solve the problem quickly in your head, right? Like 12 divided by 3 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. The answer to 12 times 2/3 is 8. And let's take a look at a few more examples of this. So 4 times 7 over 2. We can say, well, 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 2 times 7 is 14, right? Again, I'll write out the steps. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 2 times 7 is 14. And this method is meant to be done in your head. If you were to multiply 4 by 7/2 on paper, you might as well write it out as 4 over 1 times 7 over 2 and multiply the old-fashioned way. It's a powerful tool, though, to have to be able to do the multiplication quickly in your head, because it will enable you to simplify certain algebraic expressions later. Let's do one more. 12 times 5 over 4. I'll give you a couple seconds to try this on your own. Okay, by this time you should be done. 12 divided by 4 is 3, and 3 times 5 is, 15, right? Again, 12 divided by 4 is 3, and 3 times 5 is 15. What I would encourage you guys to do is make up problems like this for yourself before moving on to the next video. Just make sure that the whole number is divisible by the denominator of the fractional part. Otherwise, this method will not work. So just make something up. Again, like, for example, 10 times 3/5, right? I know it will work because I can divide 10 by 5. And then 10 divided by 5 is 2, times 3 is 6, right? Make sure that you're comfortable with this before moving on, because we're going to heavily use this method, and you really don't want to go to the next step until you feel really, really good about it.